If there are 24 hours in a day and we sleep around 8 of those hours, that means we spend a third of our life sleeping. So basically, we sleep around 20 to 25 years of our entire lives. However, Sandra's case was always different. Since the moment she was born, she always struggled with falling asleep, and when she did, she couldn't sleep for more than 4 or 5 hours straight. Her parents were very worried. Every night was hell for them all. During Sandra's childhood, she suffered many illnesses due to her insomnia. Her body was very weak and had to be taken to the ER many times. Doctors even said that she would pass away sooner or later if she didn't manage to sleep more hours each night. However, Sandra kept on living on even though her condition became more severe. Her physical appearance had deteriorated to the point that she scared the other children, making her feel like an outcast. Her bones would constantly break after any slight hit. Eye bags covered her face, which started to get more and more deformed. And her immune system was so weak that her teeth crumbled. They were so fragile that some would even break after trying to chew anything. Over time, her condition got worse and she needed help to get out of bed. She stopped going to school since she was so weak she couldn't concentrate. The doctors recommended the parents to always keep her at home since any contact with any virus would be fatal to her. Sandra's condition kept getting worse, resulting in terrible symptoms. Her metabolism changed, making it impossible for her to eat more than once per day. She would fall unconscious on many occasions due to the lack of nutrients. Then came a point when Sandra couldn't stand up anymore, so her parents had to get a wheelchair for her. From that point on, she started needing help for everything. She could no longer do anything on her own. And finally, she lost her ability to speak. All she could do now was weep, lamenting the horrible life she had to endure. Her parents were heartbroken. They loved her very much, but couldn't stand that situation any longer. They tried to help Sandra however they could. From giving her strong sleeping drugs to make her sleep, to hiring psychiatrists and hypnosis specialists to help her. Then one day, while they were buying groceries, they heard a rumor about a woman capable of curing any ailment. Desperate, they investigated on the internet until they read in a forum about the different miracles that healer woman had supposedly performed. They would have to travel by car for more than 12 hours to get to her place, and the total cost of that trip would be pretty expensive. But for Sandra's parents, the most important thing was to put an end to their hellish life. They felt like they had nothing to lose. After the long trip, the healer woman received them with a big smile. She asked them a lot of questions and examined Sandra thoroughly. She then said that even though Sandra's case was unique in the world, it did have a solution. However, the cost would be pretty high, and not only in regards to money. Sandra's parents accepted without letting the woman finish. They were a wealthy family, so they didn't care about how much the solution would cost. All they wanted was for their daughter to be healthy. Moreover, the healer had promised them that before collecting her payment, she would put Sandra to sleep so they saw it was not a scam. And so the healer asked them to please leave her alone with Sandra for a while. And after 10 long minutes that felt like an hour, she came out of the room pushing Sandra in her wheelchair. She was actually sleeping just as promised. They put Sandra in the car and drove back home. They were amazed at how she didn't wake up and didn't move during the entire trip. They even had to make sure she was actually breathing. Sandra only opened her eyes when they arrived back home. A couple of weeks later, Sandra's skin started to recover its natural glow. She gained weight and started to move her arms and legs again. They taught her to walk again. Sandra started crawling and could soon stand up again. The next year, she went back to school. Her appearance had improved significantly, which allowed her to make friends. It seems that everything was going well and the family was finally happy. However, Sandra's personality suddenly changed. Every day, her parents would receive many complaints from her teachers, and they noticed that something was different in her gaze. One morning, Sandra disappeared. They looked for her all around the city. That night, she reappeared in her bed, sitting in a corner, holding her legs as she sang and wept at the same time. After finding Sandra, her mother worriedly asked her what happened. Sandra then looked at her mother with a defiant expression for a few seconds, and then kept on singing that strange song. The next day, when it was time to take Sandra to school, they found her hugging a dead black cat. And when they took the cat away, Sandra started screaming, tagging her parents, until she managed to scratch her father's face. She was very close to stabbing his eyes with her nails, leaving him blind. They then decided to tie Sandra's hands and feet and drive all the way to the healer's house to ask her what was happening to their daughter. The elder opened the door and received them with a smile as joyful as the first time she saw the family. She invited them to come in and told them that she was waiting for them. When they told the healer what was happening to their daughter, she couldn't help but laugh. Her response was clear. "If you had actually listened to me that day, you would know what you were getting into." The healer explained to them that in order to cure Sandra's condition, she had to inject a non-lethal poison in her spine. Little by little, that substance destroyed Sandra's positive thoughts, leaving only evil in her being. Her change in personality occurred due to horrible nightmares she would have to endure every night. And so there were only two solutions: never let her daughter sleep again, or wait for her to lose all control. Feeling deceived, the father tackled the healer in a fit of rage. However, he suddenly lost consciousness and woke up in the car next to his wife and daughter in the garage of the house. He couldn't understand what happened. When they tried to report the healer to the police, they didn't believe them and just laughed at them. The parents insisted that they weren't joking, but the agents got really mad and threatened to arrest the couple if they didn't go away. And so it seems they only had one option left: not let her daughter sleep again. They would take turns each night to spend the entire time next to Sandra, and whenever she opened her eyes, they would do everything they could to wake her up. However, they both had jobs, and one night while the mother was out, the father unintentionally fell asleep after spending 7 hours with Sandra. And when the wife came back, Sandra and her father were no longer in the bed. She looked for them both all around the house and called the police again to report their disappearance. However, as she was talking on the phone, she noticed she stepped on something liquid on the kitchen floor. It was red and it was coming from the fridge. Trembling, she opened the door and saw the body of her husband completely quartered. Her shock made her unable to tell the agent what she was seeing. Then she turned around and at the police station on the other side of the phone, the agent heard the woman scream before she stopped responding. And once a police patrol arrived, they found Sandra sitting on her backyard swing, sleeping, hugging her mother's severed head, and her clothes completely drenched in blood.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like it. And if you want to see more Draw My Life horror videos, subscribe to our channel. See you in the next episode.